What things are charming sexy if you are attractive, but weird creepy if you are not? There was once a study where they had an attractive person stand on a street corner. He or she was described as brooding, mysterious, or pensive by passers-by. Then they did it with an unattractive person, who was described as creepy, weird, or potential school shooter. I'll try and find it so I can link it, but it's messed up. Lol, can you imagine being the person they asked to be the ugly one in the study? Steve, we all know you're ugly Ash, do us a favor? Being good with kids. If you're attractive, AWW he's totally husband material. If you're ugly, OMG he probably drives an ice cream truck, watch out Billy. And the difference can be as little as a bad mustache. The concept of creepy is so much more fragile than we want to admit. I was applying at a daycare and the people liked me and said I was great with kids and they'd love to have me, but then the boss said that I should be ready to be called a pedophile by some parents because they're not used to see men working with little kids. This is why I only hold the door for people that are uglier than me. You're ugly and holding a door? No thanks. I'd rather jump off a bridge. Weirdo. Now I'm gonna be self-conscious whenever someone holds the door for me. Sad reality is pretty much damn near everything. Look at what happened to Richard Jewell. He was working as a security guard for the Atlanta Olympics when he found a bomb planted at Centennial Park in the middle of a concert event for the spectators. Hundreds of people could have died if he hadn't found that bomb and gotten the crowd away from it. He was also overweight, a loner, single, liked arcades, kept adult magazines under his bed. It's the mid-90s. Who didn't? And lived with his mom. Somehow this led to him being accused by the media of being the terrorist, and the months of thrashing he got in the media began not even a week after the bombing. Yes, the FBI considered him a suspect, but he was one of multiple suspects and he was not considered a prime suspect over the many others that the feds were looking into. I don't think things would have gone the way it did for him if he looked more like James Dean than what he actually looked like. At least the Clint Eastwood movie about him was great. Paul Walter Hauser is one of my favorite actors and he did Jewel justice. Prolonged eye contact and smiling at a stranger. This is accurate. At a bar once with a girlfriend, I pointed out a handsome guy across the room. We both stared at him for a while and he caught us. When my girlfriend went to the bathroom, he approached. He said, "Your friend was creepily staring at me." Haha, but she and I had both been staring. He just happened to find me attractive and not her. Having a crush on someone. Existing. They did a couple of tests a few years ago where they had really attractive men make Tinder profiles and explained that they were registered sex offenders in their bio. Women not only messaged and swiped right but often made jokes about it. Holy sh, that's messed up. I see this type of thing covered in psychology all the time. It's not exclusive to women, but it happens all the time. Some people think they can fix broken men and women like they are protagonists of a novel. Not like these are people you want to date anyway. Anyone who willingly dates crazy probably has their own issues that they don't want to confront. So instead they focus on fixing other people's issues. Reminds me of The Basis for Chicago, the musical. The musical was based on a play written by Maureen E. Dallas Watkins, who was one of Chicago's earliest female journalists covering murder trials in the 1920s. It shocked her to see all male jurors acquit pretty women of murders that she thought they were obviously guilty of based on the evidence presented at trial. The two she focused on who became the inspirations for Oxy and Velma in the music were particularly sensationalistic. They were jazz singers and their real life trials were basically them showing their stuff and blaming everything on men and liquor. It worked. Honestly, being shy or quiet when someone is attractive, it can be endearing. If they aren't, it can often be mistaken as creepy or brooding. People say I glare all the time, but that's just the way my eyes are. The entire 50 Shades of Grey character. That dude lives in a trailer and he's in prison tomorrow. He stalked her big time. He was super controlling and he pressured her into abusive relationship, etc. If he was anything but rich and handsome, all that would be major red flags and he'd probably be seen as a creep at least. Instead, he's romanticized. Just compliments. If an attractive guy tells a girl she looks beautiful, she'll be happy and find him to be flirting. If an unattractive guy called her beautiful, she would consider him a creep and probably tell him off for it. This happened multiple times at my workplace. There were very attractive men who would openly flirt with the women. and once I got called into HR for saying the word sex in a non-sexual context. Making inane comments about a woman's clothing. Example, that dress looks good on you. Women seem to be flattered vs being creeped out based on if you're ugly or attractive. As a guy, walking around outside without a shirt, you know what's funny is, at least from the angle of not being into the person no matter what, I've almost found the opposite. I work out a lot and have a pretty decent body, albeit super pasty, but I almost never go shirtless, unless at a pool or something like that, because people will give me sh for trying to show off. But my friends who have rad dad bods can go shirtless with impunity. It's just like, oh yeah, it's hot outside makes sense. This may not be universal, but it's something I noticed and I find kind of funny. Dude, couldn't agree more. Because I work out. If I go shirtless or even if I wear a tank top, I'm showing off. But if a fat dude does it, he's just hot. I get hot too, you know. And besides, I work hard to be in good shape. I shouldn't have to hide my body because others feel insecure about their own bodies. This thread is making me realize how messed up this double standard is. It is. But it is probably worth noting that there are some variables beyond genetics that impact attractiveness. Hygiene, confidence, attitude, lifestyle, and effort play a significant role in someone's attractiveness. I think at some level it makes sense to be more flattered if you are complimented by a clean, fit, well-dressed person than someone who reeks, is disheveled, and looks like they got their hair cut by their mom. Obviously a decent amount of it is genetics, and treated people based off this is pretty messed up, but I feel like this thread is slightly oversimplifying the issue. I was working as a laborer during the summers while I was in university. One day I went to a chain sandwich place for lunch. This girl I knew a bit from high school was working there. We went to different schools so were never close but had met a few times. I thought she was super cute, so I went to that restaurant for lunch a couple times a week hoping to talk to her again. Turns out she worked at a different location and was just covering a shift. I ended up asking her out via Facebook. Almost 10 years later, we are common law married. We often joke about how that would have been super creepy of me if she didn't find me attractive. That whole dark brooding edginess thing intrigues a certain type of girl for good looking guys. Otherwise you're just an a-hole. Well, I mean, both are probably a-holes, but you see what I'm saying. Oh, and in high school, early college, hothead badass vs psycho. I've been friends with all of these stock characters at some point or another, and there is definitely the kind of guy who can punch a hole in the wall and socially survive, and the kind that can't. Literally being nice. Non-attractive people. Ugly, she was so creepy. Totally hitting on me. Did you see how she looked at us? Like you. The stereotypical attractive person. She was so nice. Did you see how they looked at us? They were really polite. It's horrible, but pretty people really do have it easier in life. Literally everything. An ugly guy could give a beautiful woman flowers and be hated for it, whereas a beautiful man could follow a woman and she would likely be flattered. I once sent a girl flowers in one of those high school flower sales. I sent 2 dozen and she and all her friends were like AWW, until they found out who sent them and were disgusted. I wasn't there to witness it, but a good friend of mine was. It hurt. I almost wish he hadn't told me, as it has haunted me for almost 25 years. My existence doesn't matter what I say. No girl likes me. At the bar I was hanging out at before the virus, I've seen very attractive guys act like total skeezer bags and suffer no consequences. In fact, they are awarded. There is definitely a type of woman who chases jerks. It seems to be a sort of sport for them. I am 45 and happily married and don't hit on anyone. I generally don't have any trouble starting conversations with ladies because I usually try to start talking about my wife almost immediately. That helps put them at ease because there is no pickup line or negging angle. Then we can just talk and it's fun. But I have seen groups of girls try to get dudes I know thrown out of the bar because they simply tried to talk to them. They are nice dudes, and as far as I saw, they weren't doing anything creepy. These guys are also regulars, and the bar staff knows them, so they're in no danger from the tipsy girls night group we'll never see again. But those ladies will pull drama on guys who take a chance. One of the biggest jerks at the bar, who gets the drunkest, and talks about the worst, most inflammatory subjects on the patio, tends to leave with a different girl anytime he tries. But unlike my buddies, He's in better shape. He dresses as well. I have even heard women trading notes about him and how he is such an a-hole, but I have seen them on separate occasions leaving to go home with him. He's a shallow, money-making herpes carrier with a leased BMW. He has banged every attractive babe that comes into the bar on her own. Nice guys really do finish last, but that's bar culture and Los Angeles for you. I am so glad I don't have to date anymore.